close your eyes, forget private jets and digital currency. We're traveling exactly 1 century back in time, to the heart of the Roaring Twenties. This was a world reborn, a post-war economic boom fueling a revolution of culture, consumption, and extravagance.
The American elite of 1925 possessed wealth on a scale that hadn't been seen since the Gilded Age, but their style was entirely different. They traded the Victorian era's stuffy conservatism for sleek modernity, embodied by jazz, Art Deco, and a new hedonism. F. Scott Fitzgerald famously coined it the Jazz Age. The goal was not just to have money, but to spend it conspicuously, to live fast, and to indulge in a freedom, a lifestyle that the previous generation could only dream of.
The foundation of this luxury was the home, not a penthouse, but a fortress of stone and steel, typically built in the Beaux Arts or Georgian Revival styles, on estates in places like Newport, Long Island's Gold Coast, or Palm Beach. These were not just houses. They were complex, self-sustaining ecosystems managed by vast retinues of domestic staff, from chauffeurs and butlers to maids, cooks, and gardeners. The average upper-class home employed 8 to 10 full-time servants.
Inside, the luxury was defined by access to groundbreaking technology that the vast majority of Americans simply didn't have. While many still relied on iceboxes, the elite had early, bulky electric refrigerators, a quiet promise of convenience. Their homes were fully wired for electricity, powering early vacuum cleaners like the Electrolux and, critically, the radio. The radio was the first mass medium, and the wealthy would gather in their parlors to listen to live broadcasts of concerts and speeches, connecting them to the new national culture.
In communication, the luxury home of 1925 featured the candlestick telephone, a rare and costly device that instantly connected them to the outside world, a privilege for only about 35% of American households. The home was a meticulously managed palace, blending old-world architecture with the latest, most cutting-edge American convenience. But to truly understand their decadence, we must leave the manor and examine how they moved.
The automobile was not just transportation, it was a mobile throne. While Henry Ford's Model T was putting the middle class on wheels for under $300, the elite drove bespoke machines, hand-built sculptures of steel and horsepower that dwarfed everything else on the road.
The king of this era was the Duesenberg. In 1925, a Duesenberg Model A started at an astonishing $6,500, the equivalent of well over $120,000 in today's money. This price was for the chassis and engine alone. The body was custom designed and built by coach builders. Duesenberg was a titan of technology, pioneering the straight-8 engine and introducing the world's first 4-wheel hydraulic brakes on a passenger car. Owning one meant you possessed the fastest, most advanced, and rarest American chassis available. Only about 650 Model A cars were ever produced, ensuring absolute exclusivity.
For longer journeys, the roads were often too primitive, making rail travel the luxury standard. The ultra-wealthy traveled not just in first class, but in their own private rail cars. These were essentially fully staffed, moving mansions with multiple sleeping berths, a dedicated kitchen, a private observation deck, and staff quarters. For those without their own car, the journey was made on luxurious trains like the 20th Century Limited, a 5-star hotel on wheels connecting New York and Chicago.
And then there was the frontier of air travel. While commercial aviation was still in its infancy, largely mail contracts, the truly pioneering wealthy could acquire or commission their own small aircraft. These were risky, exhilarating toys. But whether by road or rail, the message was clear.
In 1925, luxury was not just about getting there. It was about making the journey an exclusive, custom-tailored experience, hidden from the gaze of the average citizen. No aspect of 1920s luxury was more radical than its fashion. After the somber, restrictive styles of the Victorian and Edwardian eras, the Jazz Age exploded with freedom. For women, this meant the birth of the flapper, a symbolic break from the past, funded by the decade's prosperity.
The flapper look was deceptively simple. The shift dress with a dropped waist and a rising hemline that allowed them to literally kick up their heels doing the Charleston. But this simplicity was bought with extreme luxury. The fabric was heavy silk, satin, or velvet, often completely covered in intricate beading, sequins, and fringe, sometimes weighing over 20 pounds. Jewelry moved away from mere stones to focusing on Art Deco design. Long draped pearl necklaces, thick bracelets worn up the arm, and elaborate feather or beaded bandeaus worn over short, bobbed hair. Every piece was a statement of liberation and opulence. Menswear underwent its own quiet revolution. The traditional tuxedo and three-piece suit remained the standard for formal events, but even they were sleeker. For daytime, the wealthy moved towards bolder patterns, chalk stripe and pinstripe suits in lighter grays and browns. The true signs of sporting luxury were the trousers, the impossibly wide-legged Oxford bags, which came into popularity around 1924, and +4s, baggy knickers worn for golf and other leisure sports. A man's sophistication was judged by the crispness of his collar, the silk of his tie, and the bespoke tailoring of his wool or tweed suit.
The look was incomplete without the final touch, the fur. Women draped themselves in fox, mink, and ermine stoles, often trailing the fur's head and feet. The luxury lifestyle of 1925 was a high-contrast blend. The new, relaxed silhouettes of the flapper draped in the ancient, undeniable status symbols of gold, diamonds, and rare animal hides. The single defining element of luxury entertainment in 1925 was an act of crime. On January 17, 1920, the Volstead Act enacted Prohibition, banning the sale of alcohol. But for the wealthy, this didn't stop drinking, it made it thrilling, exclusive, and extremely expensive. The law created the speakeasy.
A speakeasy was a club hidden behind unassuming storefronts, accessed only by a secret knock or a whispered password. For the first time, these illegal establishments welcomed women as full patrons, fueling the flappers' rise. The quality of the illegal liquor, often bootleg or bathtub gin, was notoriously poor. This necessity led to one of the biggest luxury inventions of the decade: the cocktail. Sweeteners, fruit juices, and mixers were added to mask the harsh taste of the cheap spirits, making drinks like the Gin Ricky and the Sidecar status symbols.
The soundtrack to this rebellion was jazz. The smoky rooms of these clandestine clubs, like the famous 21 Club in New York, which survived by having a complex system of hidden cellars and collapsing shelves, were the birthplace of the Jazz Age. Patrons danced the Charleston and the Foxtrot, throwing money at charismatic figures like the nightclub queen, Texas Guinan. The high prices, with bottles of liquor selling for $4 to $5, an astronomical sum at the time, ensured that these clubs remained the exclusive domain of the elite.
When not breaking the law, the elite indulged in crazes like mahjong, a Chinese tile game that became a social phenomenon. They also patronized the spectacular new movie palaces, where silent films were accompanied by live orchestras. The pursuit of luxury 100 years ago was deeply tied to the thrill of the forbidden, creating a culture of dazzling, wealthy outlaws.
The wealth of the 1920s solidified the rise of the leisure class, people whose primary occupation was spending money, traveling, and socializing. The winter destination of choice was rapidly becoming Florida. Places like Palm Beach offered escape from the frigid northeastern winters, fueling a land boom that was only just beginning to capture the national imagination. California, particularly Hollywood, was also rising as a glamorous West Coast counterpart.
For the international traveler, the most irresistible lure was a short steamship trip south, Havana, Cuba. Why Cuba? 2 reasons: climate and freedom. The island offered exotic appeal and, critically, was untouched by Prohibition. Havana alone boasted over 5,000 legal bars, making it the essential escape hatch for wealthy Americans seeking legal, high-quality liquor and entertainment away from the watchful eyes of Prohibition agents.
Of course, the ultimate statement was still the grand tour of Europe. The wealthy summered on the French Riviera, bought bespoke couture from Parisian designers like Coco Chanel and Jean Lanvin, and took extended stays in London and Rome. These trips were not quick getaways. They were months-long immersions in old-world culture, made possible by the enormous fortunes generated by American industry.
The luxury lifestyle of 1925 was a thrilling paradox. It was built on the most advanced technology of the time: the radio, the electric refrigerator, the straight-eight engine, but it was animated by a rebellious spirit that flew in the face of law and convention. It was the moment American wealth shed its dusty, conservative past and embraced a dazzling, decadent future. A future that, ironically, would come crashing down in just a few short years.
What surprised you most about the Roaring Twenties? The price of a cocktail or the speed of the Duesenberg? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history, please like and subscribe for more journeys into the lives of the world's elite.